Hello and welcome to the Robot Moose YouTube channel. Let's talk about Excahauler. This is the third video in the Catching Up on LUMINSim series, where we're covering what is already in LUMINSim before we begin developing new features. Before we get started, I have a major announcement to make about LUMINSim. In the last video, I said the current terrain system is too laggy for platforms like web, but it turns out it was just a skill diff on my part, so you can actually go play it on the web right now in the link in the description. The first time you load the web version, it might take a minute or two to download all the assets, but once it's done, your loading time should be pretty much nothing. Alternatively, for the best performance, you can head over to our GitHub page to download the release for most platforms. The only thing this changes from the last video is that we may end up sticking with GD extensions. The developer setup and export processes are a pain, but the performance we can get makes it worthwhile. We would use Godot Mono for direct C# support, but that doesn't have support for web, which is a requirement for us. We still plan on making some pretty major changes to the terrain system though, like I mentioned in the last video. Now let's get talking about Excahauler. Excahauler is a 60-kilogram mining robot that the Aurora Robotics team built for NASA's Break the Ice challenge. It was designed to excavate and haul lunar regolith. In testing, it moved hundreds of kilograms of simulant across a long durability test. It would have moved a lot more, but we got harder concrete than we wanted, so we didn't end up being able to mine as much. We'll talk more about that later. Since that project, Excahauler has become a very useful platform for our work. We frequently use it during outreach events for local FTC teams and UAF events like Party in the Park, and we also used it recently to demonstrate robotic construction for NASA's Excahauler competition. It lifted and lined up steel truss segments with a simple grabber end effector. This is called Catching Up on LUMINSim, right? So what does Excahauler have to do with LUMINSim? Well, if you look in our most recent release, actually, we added Excahauler to LUMINSim. In LUMINSim, Excahauler has a rigid frame with articulated boomstick and tilt joints, a tool coupler for all tools like buckets and forks, and unfortunately, floppy noodle fork and dump joints. If you've seen the Aster video, you've seen that our custom joints are randomly mushy and prone to oscillation. That is the floppy noodle problem. In practice, it makes precision movement and lifting basically impossible. As I've said before though, we're moving away from the current joints toward directly driving transforms with a sort of virtual servo node so that joints will feel stiff, predictable, and stable. We also hope to eventually remake the wheels to act more like the gearbox-driven wheels in the real thing. Speaking of the real thing, let's check out the real Excahauler. On the software side, almost all systems are handled through what we call nanoslot. That's where Arduino Nanos act as the middleman, where they interface directly with the hardware and then communicate to the main computer via serial USB. And here's that main computer I was talking about. That's a Raspberry Pi in there, powered by a LiFePO4 battery. Using Arduino Nanos across the system like this makes it so that if one piece of hardware fails, the rest of the system will continue to work because it's over USB, so the device just isn't there anymore. This arm we built for the Excahauler project. It's powered by brushless joints with ESCs and AS5600 magnetic encoders, and that's on every single joint. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 joints on this arm. All of these joints are tied into nanoslot with their own Arduino Nano, and at the end we have a linear actuator-driven truss end effector. And what this is used for is to grab onto these truss segments that we designed for the Excahauler 2025 project. The way the end effector works is that these hands sort of go outward and grab onto the truss segment. Cool. And then I'll swing it this way. Oh. The robot is driven by 6 brushless motors on the wheels here that hook into a Barbie gearbox, actually. Now looking at the joints, every joint on the Excahauler robot is driven by linear actuators. This gives it enough strength to actually bend its own steel frame if we want it to. Down here on the fork joints, we have load cells for determining how much weight is in the bucket. Each joint has its own IMU on it for determining where the arm is located rather than using angular encoders on the joints. Here's the rock grinder that we used for the Break the Ice challenge. As you can see, we've experimented with some other types of teeth on here, but these are the original teeth that we used. You can see they're ground down significantly, and that's because on our Break the Ice testing, we had concrete that was too hard, so we ended up grinding them down to little nubs. As you can see here, it has its own batteries and connects straight up into the nano slot system. That's the entire point of this tool head system here, is that we can attach new tools like the arm or the grinder, and that allows us to have a good degree of modularity. Across the Excahauler robot, there are a series of these e-stop buttons, and what these buttons do is, when pressed, they prevent the robot from actually moving at all for safety. Because there are a lot of pinch points in here that could potentially hurt somebody if you're not careful. You can see here on the front we have these LED lights, and these lights change depending on the state of the robot to broadcast out what's going on. So this blue mode means that it's on standby, orange would mean it's under manual control, and red blinking would mean autonomous control. On top here we have a RealSense depth camera, and what this is for seeing where we're mining in front of us, or where we're picking up trusses, or whatever is going on in front of us. The Excahauler robot has been a big influence in our design choices for the new lamp robot concept, especially because of the modularity it had in its toolhead. With lamp, we're hoping to have even more modularity, including in the space behind the arm. Being able to use Excahauler in projects like the Excahab project, and also in the Break the Ice project, has saved us a lot of time, which is why we're excited to start working on the lamp robot next. Having a robot that's so easy to use across so many different use cases just by developing a new tool for it is incredibly valuable. Getting LAMP developed is going to take a lot of time and a lot of work, and we want to show you the entire development process just like this, and get your direct suggestions and feedback along the way. So if you're interested in being a part of things, subscribe and turn on notifications so you can stay in the loop on the things that we do. And by far the best way to get in contact with us and support us and be a part of things is to support us on Patreon. Patreon members directly support us, so they get more insights into what goes on behind the scenes, as well as direct lines of contact with the whole Aurora Robotics team. You'll also get free access to the simulator on Steam when it's released. You'll be able to try experimental versions on private servers, and your suggestions will be our highest priority. This is just a start, and there's going to be a whole lot more for Patreon members with time, especially with your suggestions. Check out our Patreon page in the description below. That's all I could think to share about Excahauler. To see more, head over to Excahauler's wiki page linked in the description, where we go into further detail about it and link to its other information. I also put a link to the Mining Robot GitHub page, which has the software that drives Excahauler. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, leave them in the comments section below, and if you liked the video, please leave us a like and consider subscribing to stay in the loop on LUMINSim. Until next time.